In this video, we're going to take a look at how dates are represented in Excel. So let's start off by typing in today's date. I'm doing this on August 8th, 2019. So you can just type slashes. And since we didn't put an equal sign at the beginning of this, it interprets that as not 8 divided by 8 divided by 19, but it interprets that as a date. And if we hit the Enter key, you see that even though I only typed in the 19, it actually displays the year as 4 digits instead of 2. And Microsoft started doing that around the late 1990s because of what was known as the year 2000 problem. And the year 2000 problem basically had to do with storing dates with only 2 digits representing the year instead of 4. But that's something for another video. So that's today's date. It makes it a 4-digit date for me. If I want to change it back to a 2-digit date, I can do that with some of my formatting options. But let's go to the lower right-hand corner here and just get our fill handle and drag this down to row 20. And if you take a date and you copy it down the page with the fill handle, it just gives you consecutive dates. Okay? So it's real easy to fill in a sequence of dates. You can fill down, you can fill across. Let's undo that. And there's also a couple of other options, and this involves getting the fill handle, but instead of clicking and dragging, you right-click and drag this time. And notice the fill handle goes away and you get your ordinary arrow. And when you get done, you get this pop-up menu that has number of choices. We're only going to look at the 4 that are in the middle here. And we already did fill days. That's the default. You don't need to do any right-click stuff. You can just do a regular fill, click and drag. And the second option, though, is weekdays. If you click on weekdays, it will skip the weekends. We'll just get Monday through Friday. So Saturday the 10th and Sunday the 11th are not here. The next week, the 17th and 18th, are not there. So it will do weekdays if that's all you want to appear in your spreadsheet. Let's go back, get our fill handle again. Let's click and drag down to row 20 this time. And this time we'll tell it we want to fill in the months. And it gives us the 8th of every month. Now, if you get near the end of a month, it has 31 days in it, and you do this rather than, actually, let's try that and see what happens. Let's try last month was 7/31/19, okay? And let's right-click and drag, and let's tell it I want to fill in months. And, okay, now pound signs just mean that the column is not wide enough, so we've got, looks like some, the ones that have 2 digits for the month number are not quite wide enough. So we get 31 for these two, and then we go to September, November, February. Next year's a leap year, so we get the 29th. So it'll give you the last day instead if there is no such number for that particular month. Let's go back one more time. I'm going to right-click or just click on this and delete it. I'm going to select all of this and hit delete. And then we're going to go back here and we do the very last one. Get your fill handle, right-click, drag down to row 20 here, and fill in the years. And we'll get the 8th of August every year for the next 19 years. Okay, let's widen this column a little bit here. And one thing you notice is that the dates always go off on the right side of the column. And one thing we know about Excel is that if you have text, it's left aligned. If you have logical values like true or false, they are centered, and numbers are right aligned. So what that's telling us is that somehow dates are represented as numbers in Excel. Okay, now let's get rid of these dates that we just copied in. Let's go back and do our original copy just with the regular fill handle and left clicking and dragging, and we will get a bunch of consecutive dates. Okay, now we got these selected, and all of these are right aligned, which kind of makes us think that they are numbers. Okay, so let's go to our Home tab, and let's go to our number group, and let's click on the down arrow next here for some of our formatting options. And we're using short date right now. There's another one called long date, which will give you the day of the week spelled out, the month spelled out, so it'll give you a really long version. But what we're going to do here is we're going to choose general. And something interesting happens. We see that today is number 43,685. Tomorrow is 43,686. And you see we're adding 1 on all the way down. So it appears that Excel is just counting the days. So if we would go back 43,684 days ago, we would have been on day number 1. So the question is, what is day number 1? Well, this goes both ways. And, okay, here's something funny that Excel does that can mess you up sometimes. I had some dates here before, and because I had dates here before, even though I deleted them, it keeps the formatting. I'm going to make this column general as well. And now I'm going to put in a 1 and a 2, and I'm going to get my fill handle here and get the numbers 1 through 20 all the way down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my date format options. I'm going to choose short date for those. And you can see that day number 1 was January 1st, 1900. Day number 2 was January 2nd, 1900, and so on. So as far as Excel is concerned, January 1st, 1900 was basically the beginning of time. Okay. Now, what about the day before? I mean, we're only doing positive numbers. What about the numbers 0 and -1? And let's select those two, and we'll get our fill handle. We'll drag that all the way down. And let's convert those. Let's tell Excel we want those to be dates. Okay, so we'll do short date. And something interesting happens with the 0. We get January 0, 1900, which obviously was not a valid date. And then we get pound signs for all these other ones. That means that the column's not wide enough. So let's widen the column a little bit. Let's widen it a lot. And all we get is pound signs. And you could spend all day stretching the width of this column to whatever the limit is for Excel. And all you're ever going to get here is pound signs. So it's telling you that the numbers here do not represent valid dates. There is nothing they could ever, no matter how wide you make the column, there's nothing they could put in there that would represent a valid date. Now, but what about this one? So let's delete those. They're just taking up space. But what about this one? This is January 0, 1900. They do allow that as a date. And the reason they allow that as a date is it makes it easier for you to do things with times. And in order to figure that out, how that works, I've got another video on how times are implemented in Excel, and we'll explain that in that video. So why does Excel use this method for representing dates? Let's go over here and let's select those numbers that represented current dates. And let's tell Excel we want to reformat those back the way they were before. So format those as dates. So the reason that Excel does this is it makes it easier to do date arithmetic. So if you want to find out how many days have elapsed between two dates, you can just subtract them using ordinary subtraction. So I'm going to put today's date in here again. And I'm going to put the date of Christmas this year in here. And then I'm going to put in here, I'm going to put a formula that says equals, and I'm going to take the date of Christmas minus the current date. So D2 minus D1 and hit enter. And when I do, it subtracts the two underlying serial numbers. And it tells me that there are going to be 139 days until Christmas this year. So the reason for implementing dates that way as numbers that count off the days is it does make it really easy to do date arithmetic. We will look at some date functions in our next video.